Welcome once again to Sir John Dean's Sixth Form College, and this our final virtual open event of the year. Tonight we're going to focus on arts, music and our performing arts departments. For those of you who haven't previously joined us, let me just outline for you the format of this evening's event. In the first part, we have two of our wonderful teachers, Miss Homer, who is our Head of Performing Arts, and Mr. Nield, one of our art teachers, to share with you some of their experiences teaching here at the college and share with you some of the love of their subjects. We're then going to pass over to two of our wonderful Year 13 students, Will Callan and Lily Fleming, who are going to share with you their insights into what it's like being a student at Sir John Dean's College and studying here with us. And then finally, we have a number of questions that we're going to put to our teachers that we've gleaned from you as the most common questions that you ask at this time of year when you attend open evenings and when you're putting in your applications to us. So without further ado, let me pass over to Miss Homer and to Mr. Nield. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Paul Nield. I'm second in department in the Art and Design department.
And my name is Rebecca Homer. I'm Head of Performing Arts and I teach the Drama and Theatre A-level. And Paul, I'm really pleased to be able to discuss with you this evening the work that you do in your department. I think, like a lot of people, the first time I walked into Sir John Dean's, I was struck by the quality of the student artwork on display, and I couldn't believe that it was the work of 17, 18-year-olds. And so can you tell us a little bit more about what it is that you do in your department to get those outstanding outcomes from your students?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you. The work, I often surprise myself. I look at the work some days and I think, gosh, how did we do that? I mean, it's huge, it's ambitious, it's really well made, and I occasionally have a little panic and I think, what if I forget how to do this? And then I remember everything we do here in the Art and Design department, in art, textiles, photography and 3D, it's all a taught course. So everything is broken down into the minutiae. How you draw, how you paint, how you make sculpture, how you print. Every last little detail is sort of taken care of. And the culmination of all those things, getting those little things right, week in, week out, means at the end of that A-level journey, we can make some absolutely stunning outcomes. Beautiful paintings, huge prints, really epic sculptures, lovely architectural designs, stunning textiles, marvellous photography that looks professional, and we're very, very proud of everything we do and produce. And there, as one thing I've often said to you, there's no magic wand. It just comes down to hard work and effort. But then again, I've seen your theatre shows, your music shows, the musicals, and they're filled with magic. So I'll have to put the same question to you. How do you get your students to the peak of that performance?
Oh yeah, thank you very much. And we feel really privileged as a performing arts department actually, how many other teachers and other colleagues come and watch our students performing. Co-curriculum is a really important part of what we do here at Sir John Dean's. I think it's a really important way that the students feel part of the college community. And if you at home have ever taken part in a production, either on stage or behind the scenes, you'll know that it's the most incredible way to make new friends and to feel like you're part of something bigger than yourself. So co-curriculum is a really important part of what we do. But actually one of the reasons we really love it as performing arts teachers is that it gives us an opportunity to showcase what our students are doing in lessons every day. And I so often watch the theatre and performing arts students perform, or listen to the music recitals or the multi-track recordings that the music technology students produce, and I think, I wish other people could see this. So what you're seeing when you watch our co-curricular productions, our music evenings, our dance events, is you're seeing the outcome of the students' work in lessons. I think it's really easy to look at a talented performer and say, oh, they've just got it. Oh, it just comes naturally to them. And we teach some incredibly talented students here. You're going to meet some of them shortly. But those students will be the first to tell you that when they're performing, their talent is only a tiny part of what you're seeing. What you're seeing is the result of hours of dedicated hard work. So what we do in the department is we teach the students those skills, and then we give them the time and the space and the incredible facilities space to develop and rehearse and apply those skills, and then to put them into practice in performance. So you're absolutely right, there is no magic wand. It's their hard work and it's our hard work and the culmination of that.
Yes. And there's one phrase I've heard you use before, that progress is visual. And that's one thing that really strikes me. Or I'm so endlessly impressed how your students, they sort of book a slot and do their performance. Whereas as artists, we're lucky in that respect. We have a studio and we get to practice our skills until they're perfect. And when we're ready to reveal the big show, the big outcome, we were able to do that. And it really made me think, that idea that progress is visual for both our subjects. Really made me think of 2 students last week, absolutely lovely. 2 year 13s producing stunning drawings, the real key piece of work for assessment. So the pressure was on them. And last year, as year 12s, with the students, we can recall how hard they found that idea of their work being visual and everyone being able to see it, and how much they struggled. And they worked so hard on their work, and they kept trying. And the magic thing was they didn't give up. And as a professional and an expert at what I do, I was able to give them the right piece of advice at the right time. And I think that's key. That being able to deliver that level of information and knowing your students so well to ensure success for all. So last year, those year 12 students, they were producing C grade, D grade work, and it was hard for them. And then this year, last week, they produced A grade drawings, all on their own, totally under pressure. And it was this lovely moment, the 3 of us. And they realized how much they'd come on and how lovely that sense of visual progress is for them, because it was absolute success, a joy for me and a joy for them. Which makes me think about that structure, how structured and how much planning I have to put in place to deliver that. And I was wondering, how do you organize your A-level course? What does your structure look like?
I think the performing arts subjects are quite unique in what they demand of the students, because our students have to develop practical skills, but they also have to develop a really high level of theoretical knowledge and understanding. So all performing arts A-levels include written exams as well as their practical exams and coursework. And we take what we think of as a spiral approach. So the students visit those different elements and they keep revisiting them, and each time they come back to a new element, they apply what they've learned in the others, and they've got better. So in music technology, for example, there are 4 components. So there's a listening exam, a producing exam, and then there's the 2 pieces of coursework, the recording and the composition. And while Tim is working with the students practically on their recordings and their compositions, he'll be asking them questions that are testing their theoretical understanding. So when they go back to work on their written exam, on their producing exam, they can apply that understanding, and they've experienced it and they've lived it and they really understand it, and then they're able to apply it. So it's lots of, as you say, really careful planning, really thinking what is the journey our students are going on over their 2 years with us, and how can we guide them through the courses to maximise their progress. Can you tell me a little bit about how you develop those skills in art?
Yes, yeah, it's really important, the whole process, really. It's a 3 sort of phase program. The first one being the most important, because it's about skills building. We're a practical course, we're a talk course. If I can teach the skills, you can learn the skills, practice the skills, and perfect them and make that wonderful work. So the first phase is skills building for about 9 months. Really breaking everything down. I love showing students how to even hold a pen. They spend their whole lives learning how to write. And I show them that actually you can just take a pen and you can use it in a whole range of ways. Even standing. Most students will at GCSE have just sat at a desk and worked. We raise the boards up, we stand up. I show them how to stand when you draw. And it's all these tiny little incremental changes that make the difference. After that skills building, it's their personal piece of coursework. It's really important. It's when they get to really investigate their own ideas. But it's heavily guided. They're supported as much as they need, or possibly as little as they need. Some students are absolutely on fire, getting it all right, and have learned everything in the skills building and apply it to the coursework. But that doesn't need to be the case. Every student will be learning throughout their coursework, making mistakes, getting it right, and really starting to understand what it is they shine at, what's their best bit. I like to think of it as pick and mix. I'm going to show you 50 different skills. Maybe you're going to be brilliant at 30 of them, maybe 5 of them. It'll be the licorice moment for me. They don't like them, and they don't have to do them in their personal coursework project. And that third and final phase is the exam. By that point, they've done the skills building, they've practiced it in their personal piece of coursework, and it's time to stick to what they're brilliant at and really shine in the exam. And it's a lovely moment because students know what to expect of themselves. They're used to the level of homework, the level of dedicated study periods, and perhaps the intensity of lessons. And it all comes together in this perfect, lovely environment. And that's, again, when they make that big, tremendous work. And I stand back and think, wow, how did we do that? So I love those moments. And that's one thing I like in our department. I think there's a real strength of character there. And that's one question I've got for you. If you could sum up your performing arts department as character and personality, how would you do that?
I think the Performing Arts Department is a very passionate department. I think we're a really vibrant department. I think we bring a lot of energy to the college. I think the great thing about teaching performing arts is that as a discipline, it is something that is continuously evolving. Performers are constantly making new work. So the music technology students in their exams will be answering questions about music released that year. My year 13 students are currently working on monologue performances, and I have students performing extracts from plays that were published last year. Our performing arts students are currently working on a unit, and they are inspired by the work that professional performers were making during lockdown. So because our subject is constantly evolving, our interest and enthusiasm for the subject is consistently being renewed, and I think we bring that energy to our teaching, and our students really benefit from that. How would you describe the ethos and the character of your department?
Yeah, that's a good question. Scale, I think, would be one. Scale and ambition. I think we love to be ambitious, and it's amazing how much work you can produce over the period of an A-level qualification. So scale, ambition, determination, and quality. I think we have a very strong focus on quality. And there was a point I was just thinking about as you were talking there, this idea of the expert in the room, professional expertise. That's I think, the real joy of perhaps my lessons and the college and all my colleagues is this sense of focus, absolute field of focus and expertise. Everyone, all my colleagues and myself in particular, I have the opportunity to focus on my subject. I'm not distracted by any other year groups. It's just year 12, year 13. And really, I'm not doing anything else other than focusing on my students, the individuals, and the planning. And I love being able to stand up in front of a class and talk to individuals and give them my full attention. And that's how we drill down into that minutiae and just make things so rich and successful. I think that's so important and lovely. One good question is, what do you think is the advantage then of perhaps taking an A-level in music, art, music and culture?
Oh, I think there are so many advantages. I think students who choose to take a subject from our departments, I think our subjects are about how we engage with the world, how humans make sense of the world that we live in. And I think I know certainly in theatre studies, we end up studying such a range of things because we look at a play from 2,500 years ago and we're looking at what society was like then, how was it structured, what was the role of religion, of law, of gender, and it leads to such fascinating discussions and debates. And I love that moment when the students realise that this play that was written 2,500 years ago is relevant to them and explores issues that are still relevant today. And so I think when you study a subject that relates to culture, you are studying the world that we live in, and I think it really opens the minds of the students, and it makes them able to engage with the world. And I think whether they go on to study our subjects after sixth form, they've got an interest and an intellectual curiosity that will stay with them for the rest of their lives. I'll turn the question back on you. What do you think?
There's a breadth of study there. That's the one thing I absolutely love about our art and design department. You might be really dedicated to art and painting and drawing, or you might have an interest in that, but also have an interest in science and engineering and maths. Of course, we offer 3D design. A lot of students go down the architectural route or the interior design route. product design route, lighting design. There's a whole world of design if they look that way. Or students might take the textiles route. The textiles room is phenomenal. It is, I often think of it as like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but with textiles. There's endless students busy in their sewing machines and glue guns and heat sources and all these bits of kit, making these beautiful little embroidered pieces, and they turn them into these wonderful costumes. So there's a whole nother breadth and world there of creativity. Then we've got the photography. And it's just this marvelous photo studio, a professional setup, students producing highly professional work, and they can take that into another world of television, film, still photography, graphic design. Then we've got the 3D design, again with the whole architecture thing, or art indeed. Particularly with the art, there's that sense of refinement. There's a real focus on skills and the things you can actually make with your hands. Actually, that's true for all of those A-levels. And I just love the idea that we provide students with an experience of practical skills and the warmth that brings to your character. I love that my students have this opportunity to really push themselves and produce something incredibly difficult and challenging. And the reward that brings them as individuals goes way beyond that piece of work. And it sticks with them happily into university and beyond and into their careers. I love the comments that we get at results day when students say, I never imagined I'd make such exciting and brilliant work. I was a GCSE student just a couple of years ago, and here I am off to university, and you can see there's this fire set inside of them and this burning ambition. I think that's just so lovely. Lovely, so many nice things. Observational skills, creative thinking, of course, is another thing that we should perhaps talk about and bring into that quality that you were talking about when students have the opportunity to do contextual studies and they really start to become analytical in their approach and their thinking. That is another tremendous life skill, to be able to stand back and look at the world around you.
Yeah, wonderful.
Talking of students.
Yes, and I think a final comment to make about the Performing Arts Department is, of course, that our students develop incredible communication and presentation skills. And actually, we've got a couple of students, I think, who are going to showcase those really beautifully now.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lily Fleming, and I'm a former student of Weaverham High School. Here at Sir John Dean's, I'm studying A-Level Art, BTEC Performing Arts, and A-Level Media. And this talk is for all you creative students out there. The art department has a very busy work environment where all students from art, photography, textiles and 3D design are always working on something new. I've always had a passion for art, but Sir John Dean's Sixth Form College has really helped me to hone and develop my skills to make me a better artist. However, they also allow for artistic freedom for you to go and explore your own projects and interests. You always feel welcome, inspired, and encouraged to do well in the art department. My art teacher, Simon, is a huge motivator when it comes to my artwork, and I know that he is supporting me every step of the way. But when I do feel a bit lost or worried about the next big painting or drawing, he is constantly reminding us, I am holding your hand the entire way. I never imagined going from that small square sketchbook at GCSE to a huge A1 canvas in the art room. But don't let that put you off, because I promise you, you will be fine. Next up is Performing Arts. And like the art department, there is always a student working on something, which gives it a very lively feel. I specialise in dance, so most of my memories are in the dance studio, working with my fellow dance partners to devise new choreography. I remember that one of my best friends now was actually made during a dance assignment, and I was quite nervous at first because it was the first time we were working in pairs. But after countless hours in our study periods of dancing together and with our shared love of performing arts, we became great friends by the end of it. A-Level Media is definitely my more writing-based course, but I love it all the same. I came into media with a very basic understanding. However, I know that media was definitely the right choice for me. And this is because I found, through taking the course, I love analysing and breaking down every detail from the creative and cultural industries. and that my media teacher, Emma, has been a massive help and is very supportive when helping me to gain a real insight into how the world of media works, especially when it comes to the industries. All my subjects have helped me in different ways when preparing me for my next steps. I'm hoping to eventually work as an art director within the creative and cultural industries, nationally and one day hopefully internationally. I hope this talk helped to give you a greater insight on what you might experience when taking the courses and how wonderful the creative sector can be. I'm now going to hand you over to Will.
Hi there everyone, my name is Will Callan and I'm a former student from the Heath School. I'm currently studying performing arts, music technology and theatre studies here at Sir John Deans. Now that I'm in my second year at Sir John Deans, I've come to realise just how much I enjoy studying here. The performing arts has always been something close to my heart. I've been involved in theatre productions since I was 9 years old, whether that's in school plays or as part of the theatre companies that I attend outside of school. When I joined Sir John Deans, I was delighted to see such an extensive consideration for the arts. There were such passionate teachers on the courses. I started the BTEC Performing Arts course last September, and since then I've learned so much about the subject that I love. The great amount of practical work on the course has allowed us to express our individual performance abilities and skills, whilst also learning many new styles and methods to apply to our own performances. My teacher, Laura, constantly talks to us about that relentless energy and passion for the subject, which in turn motivates us to use it in our own. My theatre studies A-level has heavily complemented my performing arts. Not only have I become a skilled essay writer, but I've also learned to write from the perspective of a director, performer, and even a designer, which has become hugely beneficial. Our teacher, Rebecca, always manages to find the time to have a one-to-one session with each and every student during a lesson to ensure that we are fully engaged and reaching our potential. As you can see, Rebecca is hugely inspirational, and we take this into every lesson. One of the things I'm most passionate about is the creation of sound. And my music technology A-level has taught me so much about how music has evolved over the past decades. I've realized recently that I really love the 70s. My favorite part of the course, however, is music production. I've been writing songs since I was 12 years old, but it's only recently that I've developed the skills to take an idea from a page and put it into people's headphones. I feel like Tim, my music tech teacher, goes to the ends of the earth to provide us with opportunities that we need to grow and flourish as musicians. I know that all of my teachers are fully supportive of the things that I do, and the work that they do for me goes beyond the hours I spend in college. I've been given so much support, and I know that this is going to get me to where I want to be in the future. I'll now hand you back to the teachers.
So welcome back to Ms. Homer and Mr. Niels. We have a number of questions here that we've selected from questions that we've been asked at open evenings and things that we think you might like a little bit more confirmation of while you're making your application choices. So, Rebecca, if we start with you, particularly in drama and theatre, what actually will the students study? Do they study Shakespeare? Always seems to be a bit of a popular question.
We do study Shakespeare, yeah. The drama and theatre course I think is fantastic because what it gives the students is an overview of the history of Western theatre. So we start with Antigone, which is an ancient Greek tragedy. Then we move to Shakespearean comedy. We look at European naturalism from the late 19th century, which is sort of the birthplace of what most people think of when they think of acting. We look at 20th century political drama, so playwrights who are trying to get their audience to really think about the world that they live in and can we go out and change it. And then finally the students get to pick their own monologue from a contemporary play that interests them, and the students pick from a really diverse range. So we do study Shakespeare, but we study a whole range of theatre.
So if a student comes to you on an open evening and says, I'm really good at performing, but I'm not so confident about writing, which course should I choose? What would you say to them? I
would say that if it's that you're not confident about writing, I can teach you to be a better writer. I can give you that confidence. That's something that we're really good at here at Sir John Dean's. If it's that you don't really enjoy writing and actually the performing is what you really enjoy, then our BTEC in Performing Arts would be a fantastic choice, because there are no written exams. There is written work, but it's continuous assessment. And actually the written work is very much about reflecting on your development as a performer. And the course is really geared around becoming a performer, and it's often for students aspiring to work in the performing arts industry. It's got a real professional focus, but equally students can develop lots of transferable skills and just enjoy that process of performing as part of their course.
Okay. So Paul, if I can come to you on a similar theme. If students come to you and say, I'm very creative, but I don't actually know how good I am at art, what would you say about choosing their subjects?
Yes, that's quite a common question. And the one thing that's really natural is for students to doubt themselves.
Yeah.
Parents don't doubt their students' ability. I don't doubt their ability, because I know how it happens every year. It's about that skills building. It's about that acquisition of skills every week, every day, every lesson, and building it up over time. And so I know that students they'll see that wonderful work on the wall,
Yeah.
and they'll get a bit scared. And especially at open evenings, I've become quite adept at finding those terrified looking children, usually in the corridor by the door, and they don't want to come in. And I go and tell them, it's okay, it's fine, look, don't look at the big stuff, look at the side. And they can see how the work is built up over time. So everything's broken down to those easy tasks. But I understand that concern, but that's what they should really do is think, do they have the motivation? Do they have the passion for it? Do they have that sense of commitment?
Yeah.
We require a lot of commitment down in the art and design department. Lessons, homework, study periods, and a genuine passion for it. Another good indicator, are they enjoying it in school? Are they really struggling with it? If they are struggling, maybe that's something they will carry on to A-levels, and it might not be the best choice for them. But the likelihood is they're doubting themselves. I won't doubt their abilities, and they need to know that.
So for the students, one of the questions I know that they ask a lot as well is, do they get to choose what they paint or what they design? You know, is it a matter of their choice, or is it something they have to be guided on?
Yeah, I definitely feel it's a guided course. Okay. Certainly the first 9 months. I like to think of myself as a bus driver. They're on my bus, you're sat on the seats, I've organised the map, I know where we're stopping off, I know how long it's going to take, and yet we're going everywhere I wish to go, because then I know students are getting that absolute right diet for success. So after that, it's their personal project, and by that point, they know what works and doesn't work to some extent. They're still learning, and they can absolutely bring in their own passions and their own interests, and they are very much guided by us. So the bus driver analogy, yep, I then hand the keys to them, and I've still got the map a little bit, and I'm helping them guide them till you get to the exam, and then I give them both the keys and the map, and it's over to them, and I'm still there for advice. So that's how I deal with that one.
Yeah. Okay. So, Rebecca, when students are looking at the courses and they see music and they do music technology, are they able to do both? How do they choose between the two music areas?
They absolutely are able to do both. We just met Will, who does 3 subjects from the Performing Arts department, and if they have a real passion for music, we would encourage them to take both. They are very distinct courses though, and Music A-level is much more about classical music. It requires students to have much more theoretical, traditional musical knowledge, and they have to be able to play their instrument or sing to a really high standard, so a minimum of grade 5. The music technology is an entry-level course, so our fantastic music technology teacher, Tim, can teach them everything that they need to know. And of course, if they have experience of playing an instrument, if they have some theoretical knowledge, it will help them, but they don't have to have that. Music technology is also going to appeal more to students who are into more popular music, more recent music, technology-based music, whereas the music course features much more heavily more historical music styles. So that there is a difference between them. If anyone is unsure, I'd just encourage them to get in touch with us and we can talk about the difference with them.
Because that's one of the things with both your departments. So with the art department, you've got 3D design, you've got art, you've got photography and textiles. So if a student's looking to you saying, so how do I choose 3D design? Do I have to be good at art for 3D design? Or how would you advise them?
Yes, that's a good question, one we get a lot. The exam board are really good. It's a great qualification. They're not looking for artists.
Okay.
The art A-level, we're looking for artists, people who wish to craft objects. But 3D design is such an exciting qualification as well, because I get a range of maths students, computer science students, I get some performing arts students, students who just love video games and want to go into special effects for TV and film. And there's just such a wide variety of themes and ideas and passions in the room. And the one key thing that often binds them is perhaps a lack of drawing skills. And they vocally dislike drawing. They've been put off it for years. And I feel it's my mission to get them back in love with drawing. So I really enjoy just taking it down to the basics and showing them and giving them those easy wins. And over time, they come around and they find their own style of art, as it were, their own way of communicating that vision they've got in their head. And it's wonderful because they then craft it into these really intelligent pieces of work. So you don't have to be great at drawing to do 3D design. It helps, but you certainly don't have to.
Okay. So, Rebecca, we've talked about some of the core texts in theatre, but if somebody's studying English, is it going to be the same texts in English? Will it be different? What's the overlap?
Theatre studies A-level and English literature really complement each other, and there are some texts that are shared, but we look at them very differently. So the English literature course looks at social and political protest writing, and that includes The Kite Runner as the novel and the poetry of William Blake, but the drama text that they study is A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, which is a text that we study. And I think the students actually really benefit looking at it from both sides. How does this work in performance and what's happening on the page? And they also look at tragedy, and that includes Othello and Death of a Salesman, and they look at the poetry of Keats. And again, tragedy is a really important part of the theatre course as well, so they complement each other really, really beautifully.
Okay, so final question to both of you, and we'll start with you, Rebecca. So as a teacher, and as someone that's studied these subjects yourself, what is your favourite part of the A-level course?
I love the whole course, but my favourite thing that I studied at university and my favourite thing to teach is Shakespeare. And I know a lot of my students arrive thinking that they're not going to like Shakespeare. And I think often our experience of Shakespeare at school is of reading it in English. And Shakespeare didn't write his plays to be read, he wrote them to be performed. And I know that when I get my students in the theatre and we are exploring the text and we're looking at the verse and we're looking at everything Shakespeare did, I see them suddenly get it, and we have these penny drop moments and they go, it's brilliant, it's brilliant. And that for me is just one of the best moments. And I love showing them professional productions of Shakespeare's work, and watching professional theatre is a really important part of the course. And directors can find so much in Shakespeare. You know, the reason that he is still one of our most popular playwrights is that he's exploring things that are universal, and I love seeing a 16, 17-year-old watching a play and going, I've experienced that, I get that, and that connection that they can feel. For me, it doesn't get better than that, so Shakespeare is my favourite.
I know I've shared this with you before, but for me, watching your presentation on iambic pentameter is definitely been one of the highlights of being here at the college. So Paul, what about you? If you could pinpoint it to one thing, what's your best part of the art courses?
Drawing. I think it's always going to come back to drawing for me. I love the challenge of it. I love that sense of creative adventure. And it can be so many different things to so many different students with different abilities and talents. Of course, we've got the photography A-level, 3D design, art and textiles. Drawing is one of those key skills that really underpin all creative activities. And to some extent, they will be using drawing to really facilitate and enhance their work and just communicate ideas. And I particularly love that skill of crafting a fine piece of work with drawing. It's very demanding and exceptionally rewarding to teach. And I think one of the things I love the most is they're perhaps not that keen on it initially because they're scared of it. And I break it down and teach them that it's okay, it's nothing to be scared of. You can become the boss of that drawing. And that's what I love. I put them in charge in the end of the pen. I like that. So it's drawing.
Drawing, excellent. Thank you so much to both of you. That draws us to the end of our third open event, and we hope over the last 3 weeks you've had a real insight into our teachers, into some of our students, and we've answered some of the questions that you may have about your applications and about the courses that you can take here at the college. As I have said before, we value ambition, we value enthusiasm, and we value loyalty. So if you haven't yet done it, please show us that enthusiasm this evening. Go onto our website and put in your application to us for next year. If you've got any questions that you want answering, please call the college and the admissions team will be there to help you. Now, it's Christmas next week, and on behalf of all of the college, I would like to wish you and your families a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and we hope that this holiday season brings you everything that you hope for. And we look forward to meeting you again in 2021. Thank you very much.